What if I told you that the man trusted to protect crime scenes was secretly making money by destroying them? For nearly 12 years, Detective Mark Ellison was considered one of the best officers in Ridgeway City. He worked homicide. He testified cleanly. Judges trusted his reports without hesitation. Ellison had a reputation for being calm, methodical, and professional. When he entered a crime scene, officers stepped aside. When he handled evidence, no one double-checked his work. But behind that reputation was a quiet pattern no one noticed. Cases where critical evidence went missing. Cases where charges were suddenly dropped. Cases where victims were left without answers. Internal affairs assumed it was coincidence. Prosecutors blamed technical errors. What they didn't know was that Ellison had turned evidence into a side business. And eventually, one victim noticed something no one else did. The first signs appeared years earlier, buried inside dismissed cases. A knife logged into evidence, then relisted as contaminated. A phone extracted for data, suddenly wiped. A surveillance drive marked corrupted before trial. Each incident had a reasonable explanation. Technology fails. Chain of custody mistakes happen. But when analysts later reviewed cold cases, a strange pattern emerged. Detective Ellison's name appeared again and again and again. In nearly every case, the missing evidence benefited one side, the suspect. And in several of those cases, the suspects had one thing in common: they had money. No one accused Ellison outright. He was respected, decorated, untouchable. So the pattern stayed buried until one victim refused to let her case disappear quietly. Her name was Elena Morales. Elena's brother, Daniel, had been stabbed outside his apartment building. Witnesses heard shouting. Security cameras pointed directly at the entrance. Detective Ellison arrived first. He collected the knife. He secured the footage. He promised answers. 3 weeks later, prosecutors dropped the case. The knife was declared compromised. The video file was unrecoverable. The suspect, a local business owner, walked free. Elena didn't accept it. She requested records. She asked questions officers avoided. And she noticed something chilling. Every document, every evidence log was signed by the same name: Detective Mark Ellison. While everyone else moved on, Elena started watching him. Elena knew following a detective was risky, so she didn't do it openly. She learned his routine instead. Ellison left the precinct at exactly 6:10 p.m., stopped for coffee twice a week, drove a gray sedan with city plates. One night, Elena followed from a distance. Ellison didn't go home. He parked behind an auto repair shop on the edge of town. A man approached his car. They exchanged something small. No words, no handshake, just a transaction. Elena's heart pounded. She filmed from her phone, shaky, imperfect. The next day, she checked court records. The man from the repair shop was the suspect in another dismissed assault case. That was when Elena realized something horrifying. Ellison wasn't careless. He was careful. Ellison never sold evidence directly. That would be obvious. Instead, he created failures. A mislabeled bag, a corrupted file, a contaminated sample. Then, quietly, through intermediaries, he contacted defense-connected fixers. For a price, evidence would become unusable. Cases would collapse before trial. No fingerprints removed, no files stolen outright, just enough damage to introduce doubt. Ellison always kept plausible deniability. Mistakes happen, after all. Over time, he made tens of thousands of dollars. And no one noticed. Except Elena. She wasn't just watching anymore. She was collecting proof. Elena tried going to internal affairs anonymously. Nothing happened. She sent footage, logs, dates. Weeks passed, then months. One night she noticed something new. A car parked outside her apartment, engine running, lights off. The next morning her tires were slashed. No note, no witnesses. Elena understood the message. She was too close. But instead of stopping, she did something even more dangerous. She followed Ellison all the way home. Ellison lived on Alder Street. Quiet, clean, forgettable. The kind of place no one looks twice at. Elena parked 2 houses away. She watched him unload something from his trunk. Not groceries. A sealed evidence box, marked with a police barcode. Elena recorded everything. Inside that box was proof. Evidence that was supposed to be locked inside the precinct. That night, Elena backed up the video to 3 locations. Because she knew something now. If anything happened to her, this time the evidence wouldn't disappear. Elena wasn't the only one suspicious anymore. A junior detective named Ryan Holt had noticed the same pattern. Cases Ellison touched failed more often than others. When Holt quietly compared notes with Elena, the pieces snapped together. Together, they built a timeline. Evidence logged, evidence damaged, suspects freed, Ellison paid. Holt knew the risk. Reporting a senior detective could end his career. But once he saw the footage of Ellison carrying the evidence box, there was no turning back. Internal Affairs finally listened, because this time the accusation came from inside the badge. Internal Affairs set a trap. They created a fake case, fake evidence, fake suspect with money. And they waited. Ellison took the bait. He altered the evidence log, declared contamination, scheduled a private meeting. This time, cameras were everywhere. When Ellison accepted the envelope, he was arrested on the spot. Badge removed, gun confiscated. The man who sold justice was finally caught by it. Ellison's arrest shattered the department. Dozens of cases were reopened, convictions overturned, victims notified. Some families finally got answers. Others learned the truth was gone forever. Ellison pleaded guilty to bribery, obstruction, and evidence tampering. He received 22 years in federal prison. Elena attended the sentencing. She didn't smile. Justice came, but too late for her brother. Still, because she followed a corrupt cop home, the system finally had to face itself. Not every case could be saved. Some evidence was gone forever, destroyed, sold, accidentally lost. Prosecutors stood in court with empty hands. Victims listened as judges explained that justice requires proof, and proof no longer existed. For those families, Ellison's crimes felt like a second attack. Internal Affairs documented over 40 compromised investigations, 40 lives altered, and all of it traced back to one trusted detective who decided his badge was worth selling. Elena never called herself a hero. She said she was just angry. Angry that a system designed to protect had been used for profit. She moved out of Ridgeway City quietly. No interviews, no book deals. But every year, on her brother's birthday, she visits the courthouse steps where Ellison was sentenced. Because following a corrupt cop home didn't just expose a crime, it reminded everyone that accountability sometimes starts with one person refusing to look away. Police corruption rarely starts big. It starts small. One favor, one shortcut, one moment where no one checks. Ellison didn't wake up planning to sell justice. He learned the system trusted him, and trust can be exploited. Experts say unchecked authority and weak oversight create perfect conditions for abuse. And without whistleblowers, corruption thrives quietly. Looking back, the warning signs were there. Repeated accidental evidence failures, cases collapsing late, defendants with expensive lawyers walking free. But reputation protected Ellison. And that's the danger. When trust replaces verification, corruption doesn't need to hide. It just waits. So here's the unsettling truth. The system didn't catch Detective Ellison. A victim did. Someone with no badge, no authority, just persistence. And sometimes that's what justice really depends on. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's start the conversations that matter, the ones that lead to real change. And if you'd like more stories that challenge us, inspire us, and remind us of what we're capable of when we stand for what's right, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more stories like this to light.